Got me a cup of coffee, and I figured I'd sit down on this little couch and tell you guys a story. Hello from South Dakota. Glad to have you here, Vanessa. South Dakota is one of my favorite states, right up there with Texas. You guys got some great people out there. I like ideas. I always like ideas. Go ahead and hit me up on Instagram, Tyler Sasse, real Tyler Sasse on Instagram. Drop me a DM in there. If you guys like coffee, go ahead and drop me a comment down in the comment section. I wanted to start off today by by there's a lot of things going on in this world, and I wanted to talk about negativity and just the overall morale of people and cultures and how we view things in life. This is a crazy world that we live in, and there's a lot of massive changes that have taken place over the last couple of years. And no, we are not requiring vaccinations for this course. Coronavirus has kind of taken the whole world and flipped it up on its head. And the reality of it is that the people that can muster through and just keep on chugging every single day and keep their eye on the prize, and really it doesn't matter what obstacles throws your way, what kind of, it doesn't matter what life does to you. I mean, there's an old saying, right? If somebody hands you a bag of lemons, just make lemonade. And everybody loves lemonade, and I like coffee. So we're going to do a little live stream this Friday. We're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to talk about Western Welding Academy, and we're going to talk about anything you guys want to talk about. If you got questions or you want answers, or if there's anything that comes up you've been thinking about, drop it in the chat. And we got a little screen set up here where I can see the chat, and we'll just answer them live. And if you guys like this, we'll try to do this every Friday for you. So, as I was kind of talking about coronavirus and some of the things that have taken place, and there's just a lot of really unique challenges. It doesn't matter where you're at in life or where you're trying to go, but keep in mind that if you look back through history, some of the things that we've been faced with over the last 2 years, they're really, they're nothing compared to some of the things that our ancestors have gone through. And so keep putting power to the pavement. Keep the pressure. Keep the focus on keep your eye on the prize. The man or woman that keeps their head down, nose to the grindstone, those are the ones that ultimately are going to prevail. Nothing beats honest, solid work ethic. It's nothing beats it. And so if you can keep the power to the pavement, as I like to say, and keep your nose to the grindstone, keep your eye on the prize, the world is your playground. You can be anybody you want to be, as long as you're willing to do whatever it takes. So with that, drop me a comment. If you guys can hear me all right, drop me a comment. We got a few things we're going to be talking about. We're going to be answering some questions, and I want to know, how has this pandemic affected you? Have you been able to reach out and achieve your goals? Do you know where you're going in life? One of the things that we started was what we call the blue collar revolution, and this is our way to, really connect with people and, talk about some of the things that not many people are talking about. There's a lot of work out there, and our country, if you look at it as a whole, it was built on blue collar labor. If you go all the way back to the days of the Mayflower and settling the 13 colonies, and it was the whole Oregon Trail and the going out west and the American pioneer, and the person that really had that ability to uh, put their work boots on every morning and go out there and just crush it. The world is yours for the taking. And in this day and age, it's no different. There's obviously some challenges that you got to overcome, and there's some things, but in the reality of it is you can be anybody you want to be if you're willing to work for it, and you're willing to go after it. And I really would like to encourage you guys that overcome it, work hard, nose to the grindstone. You could do anything. The skilled labor in this country has been dwindling for decades now as technology has created the ease of things, and we've shipped a lot of our manufacturing overseas, and it's there's just a lot of opportunity out there for the young person that wants to work with their hands, and by the sweat of their brow they can make a pile of money. The competition when you get on the job, a lot of these guys are old, they're about to retire. And if you can get out there and you can learn from some of these people, you can make a ton of money, and it can break the chain, as we call it. You can change generations of your kids and your kids' kids if you're willing to work for it and you're willing to really go after it. How do you get registered to attend Western Welding Academy? Great question. If you go to westernweldingacademy.com, you hit the enroll now. That'll start student selection process. You fill out an application, and you go through our student selection. There's a number of things that you got to do once you've gotten your application in. We review all those applications. Usually takes 3 to 4 days to get back to you. If you're accepted, you move on to the booth hold payment. The booth hold payment that locks you a spot in our schedule. The schedule fills up really quick. Once you've got your booth secured, then you go on to the financial aid and the student housing, if you need it. And student intake is very, very helpful. They'll help you all the way through the process. But to get started, that's the first step in the journey to Western Welding Academy. Is go to westernweldingacademy.com and hit the blue Enroll Now button. You're in a technical college. Technical school is good. Just kind of what I was going back over. The person that wants to work with their hands, you can. There's just so much opportunity out there, because there's been, especially in the last 2 years, there's been a lot of things that have stood in the way of the working person, the working man or the working woman. There's a lot of motivation to stay at home on the couch and not go to work, and so a lot of these contractors and these companies are really suffering. To get good qualified people that are skilled on their job sites, there's just not a lot of competition. And America was built on the blood, sweat, and tears of the blue collar worker. So get some skills, and if you want to work hard and you want to make a ton of money, get some skills, and you can do anything you want to do. It's pretty phenomenal, the amount of opportunity that's out there. Do you have to go to be a pipeline welder at Western Welding Academy? No, you don't. So the oil and gas industry is only about 5% of our country's overall GDP. So, everybody needs toilet paper. Well, where does that paper come from? It comes from a pulp mill. And in a pulp mill, there's all kinds of process piping and steam and heating and acids and different piping systems that come in effect to make that pulp and that paper, make that toilet paper. You want to talk about pharmaceutical companies? They require all kinds of different piping systems. All that pipe's got to get welded. It's a tremendous amount of high pressure pipe. Rubber, comes from a rubber plant. leather, pretty much any man-made product, whether it be stone, steel, plastic, any of that stuff is made in a manufacturing process that requires high pressure piping and requires a welder to put it together. So, oil and gas industry, it's a great industry, but it's only 5%. It's only 5% of our overall GDP in our country. So what does that mean? It means there's a tremendous amount of work out there that, it's totally unrelated. So if you can learn to weld, even skyscrapers and structural steel and bridges and roads, I mean, every bit of that requires a welder. And get some skills and learn to weld, and the world is yours for the taking. I don't understand the mindset of not having any work ethic. I don't either, brother. Quite honestly, my daddy always told me, get up in the morning every single day and go out there and work hard and stay late, and you'll make a hand. And that's just that's part of it. So if you can work hard, and you're willing to bring the value and provide the value to the employer and to the contractor, you're going to make a hand. And a hand is what they're looking for, and a hand is that's the most powerful thing, really, when you're accountable and you've got work ethic, and you want to show up 15 minutes early every day, and you want to work hard, and you want to work all day, and you can take direction, and you can build things with your hands, and you can be involved with the planning. There's really nothing that you can't accomplish. It's insane, quite honestly. If you love working with your hands, you got the world by the tail. I mean, there's nothing that you can't do. Hashtag truth. I love it. Explain the student housing situation. So here in Gillette, Wyoming, 98% of our students come from out of state. These men and women travel here from all over the country, and they've all needed a place to stay while they're here. And so we've partnered up with several housing companies that will work with you, and they will have a special lease agreement, or they work with all of our students, and they'll get you a place fixed up, depending on your price point, or your what you can afford or what you want to live in. They'll work with you, and they'll get you a place to stay while you're here. You're going to be here for 5-6 months, and it's not like you're trying to buy a house or nothing. You just need a place to live while you're here. And if you bring your family with you, you might need a little bigger house, or if you come by yourself, you might need just a room. So we've got a lot of options once you get to the housing point in our student selection process. We got some great folks that'll help you out, get you what you need. Drop me a comment in the chat if you guys have, how's it been for you in your home state? A lot of jobs have been shut down. A lot of jobs have went back on. Coronavirus has impacted you. I'm curious to know, in some of these other states, how has it impacted you? Drop me a comment down in the chat and let me know what you think. If you run uphill or downhill, which welds is better? So what's better, uphill or downhill welding? That kind of goes back, if you go back in history and look at, welding started out obviously with oxyacetylene. Well, it actually started out in a blacksmith's forge, heating metal up and slamming it together. And then we got to using a fuel gas, oxyacetylene or propylene or a propane mix with oxygen and a filler wire. And eventually, stick welding or SMAW, shielded metal arc welding, come along, the old guys, they would actually wrap their rods, and what I've read is that they wrapped their rods in the morning, and then they welded with the rods they'd wrapped the previous morning, and pretty slow process. Production was pretty slow then. Eventually, Lincoln Electric started manufacturing welding rod, and so that sped the process up a lot. But if you go back and you look at some of the welding procedures in the beginning, they they started welding downhill, and one of the problems that some of the engineers were faced with when you're welding downhill, the heat's rising, and so you're constantly outrunning the heat. When you're welding uphill, you're with the heat's following you all the way up the pipe, and so you've got to weld at a cooler amperage, which the engineers thought that it would be better to weld uphill because of the cooler amperage. You wouldn't, the heat input would be less. And then they invented some welding rod called the low hydrogen electrode, which is essentially, it's just doesn't have any moisture or hydrogen in it, because hydrogen on a higher grade steel, the hydrogen tends to cause what they call a hydrogen cracking when that hydrogen is being released from the weld, and it can cause some cracking in some higher tensile strength steel. But I can tell you that I've tore apart old piping systems, replaced them, and a lot of that old high pressure pipe was all welded downhill, and it's still there 50 years later in perfect working order. Granted, some of that material was a lower grade tensile strength, so it kind of does make sense when you think about going to a higher tensile strength steel that you'd need to weld it with an uphill low hydrogen process. But a couple of years ago, they invented some downhill, some low hydrogen electrodes that were specifically made for downhill welding procedures, and all are good, but traditionally speaking, a downhill weld is going to be much faster, much higher production. Brittany Lamp, how you doing? Good to see you. No one wants to come into work early in the mornings or late at night. Charlotte, North Carolina. Trying to get breakfast in the morning. Good to see you, Brittany. Hopefully we have Steward School again this year, and I'll be able to catch up with you. If both welds are 100%, which is better? There again, it just depends on the tensile strength of the steel and the application. In the pipeline world, traditionally speaking, we weld in a downhill, with a cellulose electrode, an 8010 or an arc 80, with a 6010 5P plus bead. But in some of the really, really high pressure, really high tensile strength, they do require an uphill weld. Both are good. They're just different. It's kind of like Ford Chevy. They're both trucks. Some are better at some things, some are better at others. There really is no one way. That being said, I'm sure there's a bunch of engineers that would strongly advocate for one way or the other. Yes, Danny has the best beard in Gillette. In fact, I think he has the best beard in all of Wyoming. And Danny's he's our beard guy. Yes, we'd love to have you, Brittany. Come check us out anytime. He's got to go back to work. Yeah, hit me up on my Instagram. I'd love to hear your idea. He likes my shirt. Dirty hands, clean money. I'm all about that blue collar. Absolutely, I'm all about that blue collar. If you guys follow me on Instagram, or if you follow Western Welding Academy, one of the things that we're going to be putting on our solo page here in the next couple of days, we're going to be putting, if you go to our bio, click the link in our bio that goes to our solo page, And if you go to our solo page, one of the things that we're going to be putting on there is it's an advocacy network that 798's put together, and it advocates for these projects all over the country, and it's really important that we get people funneled in there to fill out the advocacy stuff and join the Action Network. What this does is it advocates for these big projects that our country so desperately needs. So be on the lookout for that. Click the link in our bio. It's going to be up in another day or two, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that as time goes on. But we'd love it if you guys are passionate about the blue collar industry and the welding industry. It's a phenomenal group of people that have built this whole Action Network, how to put pressure on the politicians and the right people that are holding back on some of these permits. Get these jobs permitted and get them rolling and get them going. And there's a lot of people that work on these jobs, and they need your help. So we get that up. Make sure you guys check that out. Click that, join the Action Network. They'll send you a little alert that'll tell you when there's an action and when we need your help. And if you're passionate about blue collar, you're passionate about the welding industry, it's a great way for you to be able to help the industry and really make a difference. Advice for a 15-year-old wanting to do structural and pipeline work. There's a lot of 15-year-olds out there just like yourself, Angel, that want to go to work in this industry, and it's a phenomenal industry. I like to say it's the king of trades because I really believe that. It takes a lot of hand-eye coordination, and it takes a lot of grit, a lot of determination. It's not for everybody, but it's we are one of the most skilled craftsmen out there as welders. And I would say, hopefully in your high school you've got some sort of welding or agricultural class. Join that, and there's a lot of great information out there on the internet that you can watch and follow, and buy yourself a little welding machine and start practicing at home in the garage, or ideally you've got an agricultural class or some sort of welding class at your high school, but just start burning that rod, get the feel of feeding that puddle and being able to light that rod up and burn it all the way down to the numbers. Those are just, it's like when you build a house. You're going to build a house. You're not just going to start from the roof down. You're going to start with clearing the groundwork and putting in the foundation and learning how to get that rod lit up and feed that puddle. That's the foundation, and it's pretty important that you learn that. If you learn that and then you attend a school like Western Welding Academy, we can take you from there. That I can promise you. So I love it. I love the comment. Evan Hurtado, my man. This is one of my heroes right here. This guy has got the work ethic and the grit. I tell you what, if we had, if a quarter of the country had the grit and determination of Evan Hurtado, we would be in good shape. You're my hero, Evan. Amen, Brittany Lamp. Drop me a comment down there. If you guys are wondering about something, drop us a comment. Give us a shout out. We appreciate all the support. If there's anywhere we can help you, if we can answer some questions. We are live on TikTok, but we don't have the TikTok chat set up yet. So if you're on TikTok and you're dropping us a comment on TikTok, jump over to Instagram or YouTube, and that's where we've got the chat set up. We had a little glitch on the TikTok, so it's been it's been kind of tough on us, but. Tanner Evans, my good buddy, my friend. How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Work hasn't slowed down for structural. When COVID hit, you kept working. That's awesome. That's wonderful to hear. Some states shut down. A lot of these projects got pushed back, and really unfortunate. But I've been thinking about this a lot lately. The contractor, the company that can put a force of skilled craftsmen in the field really are going to be the kings in the next 2 decades. There's a lot of motivation. There's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't get off the couch and why you shouldn't join a trade and work with your hands. And if you're one of these kind of people that you really want to do that, I'm here to tell you, it's a great living. You can make a ton of money, and you will have the world by the tail, because there's such a shortage of skilled craftsmen in our country. There's such a shortage of people that want to go to work and show up on time and work all day. The competition is not stiff. It's a lot of these older people, they're retiring out of this industry, and you don't necessarily have to be a welder. I mean, there's a lot of great skilled craftsmen out there. That's why we started the Blue Collar Revolution. We're trying to spread that message, trying to tell that blue collar story. We're trying to bring that whole idea to a lot of the youth in America, that you don't have to go to college. Join a trade. It will treat you, the return on that investment is exponential. If you want to work for a living and you got grit and you got determination, and you want to show up and you want to work all day, you can make a hand, and you can just about punch your own ticket. And I mean, it's unbelievable the kind of money that these contractors are shelling out for good people. So, with that, I mean, I would just say that if you want to work and you want to work hard, you don't have to be a welder. Welding, in my opinion, is this. That's the best trade there is. It's the king of trades. It takes the most skill, but man, if you it's an unbelievable opportunity to be young in America nowadays with the kind of opportunities that are out there. TikTok is where I found Western Welding Academy. Yeah, a lot of people find us there. We do shoot some pretty cool videos, and we have some fun doing it, and I kind of feel like our students enjoy that. There's always something kind of crazy going on around here, and we like TikTok. It's always been kind of fun making short little videos and trying to tell our story and spread that blue collar message. Definitely a very good tool that we found. Best decision I ever made, joining the trade. Yes, ma'am. It was the best decision I ever made. I couldn't wait to get my life started when I was young, and I started working in high school, and I was making so much money. I was working for a little mom and pop excavating company, and I was actually washing pickups and washing haul trucks with a pressure washer, big old steam cleaner. And by the time I hit 10th grade, I was so busy making money that I honestly didn't have time to go to high school anymore. And with that being said, I do not advocate for anybody to quit high school. I think you should go out there and kick that thing and get it done and finish and graduate. It's a pretty low bar, but that was not the path I took. When I turned 18 and become legal working age, I got to looking around, and I realized that I needed a strong skill or some kind of card, like a journeyman electrician card, something that I could really fall back on if something happened in my life. And so, believe it or not, I had decided to be an electrician, and electricians, they're highly skilled individuals, but before I could quite get into lineman school, I learned about welding, and boy, was I mistaken. I thought welders were some greasy old individuals, that just breathed fire all day and were dirty, kind of unkempt people. And I mean, was I ever wrong? The welding industry it's the most phenomenal industry, in my opinion, out there. It takes a lot of skill, a lot of determination to be a welder, especially a pipe welder. And I went to a little welding school. I learned how to weld pipe. My first year in the industry, I was 18 years old, just barely 18. I worked my tail off that year, and I made $72,000. And, a lot of my buddies at this point, they were still kind of dinking around, going to college or thinking about college or really unsure what to do with their life. And, I bought my first house at 19 years old. This trade has given me so many things, and that I don't think I would have got anywhere else. I definitely would have not got that with some sort of, psychology degree or business degree or something from my local university. I mean, I went to the trades, and I've never looked back. In my best year ever, I was welding high pressure pipe. I was really, really fortunate. I got to be in a good spot, and I made $352,000 that year. And, you know, there's a lot of doctors out there that don't make that kind of money. I mean, joining the trade and becoming a welder is one of the best things that ever happened to me. And I, with Western Welding Academy, this is our way to give back to the industry, and be able to give back to, this put so much money in my pocket and help me and have such a good life with such good benefits. And this is our way to give back and really help the youth make that transition into a skilled trade, and in my opinion, the king of trades. What would be a good job for someone about to get out of welding school? Well, I would say, there's a, if you've got the work ethic and you've got some welding skills in your back pocket, there's a lot of contractors out there that are interested in talking to you. A good place to start is in controlled environments. One of the things with pipeline welding, you're out there in the elements. It's going to rain, it's going to hail, it's going to snow, the wind's going to blow, it's going to be dirty and muddy. And when you're brand new out of school and you don't have, you haven't been doing it very long, you've got the skills, but you need to do it over and over about 1,000 times to be really, really good. And a lot of times what I advise people is to try to eliminate some of those challenges that you can't overcome, like the weather. Get to a controlled environment and get really, really just hone that skill. Fab shops are an amazing place to start. Piping fabrication, vessel fabrication shops. It's a controlled environment, and there's a tremendous amount of product that moves through those facilities. You can make thousands and thousands of weld and get paid phenomenal money to do it, and that really hones your skill. And then you can, and not everybody does this. There's some people that go straight to pipeline. There's some people that go straight to plants. There's some people that go to the fab shops. I mean, there's a huge opportunity out there. It kind of depends on what part of the world you live in and what industries in your area or wherever it is that you want to work. But the plants are also a really great place to start. They have more of a controlled environment, and there's tons of pipe. My first job I worked on was 18 years old. I worked on an ethanol plant. This was when ethanol was really big. It was right down there on the Columbia River, and got a little cold out there some days when that humidity would come off that river. But I think there was like 22 miles of pipe in this place, and I don't know how many thousands and thousands of welds, but everything from the structural steel to the piping, the stainless, the carbon. There were steam systems and condensate, and there was, just it looked like spaghetti wrapped all up in there, and all that pipe had to be welded and installed and rigged in, and cranes, and just big tanks. We built some big tanks out there and set pumps, and there was just a lot of man hours went into that plant, and there was a lot of people that made a lot of money, and I was one of them at 18 years old. I couldn't hardly believe it. Some of the paychecks they gave me. Had a amazing time. Worked for a really, really good company out there on the West Coast, and it was one of the best jobs I ever worked on, honestly. I just started at South Carolina School of Welding. Ho, yeah. That Bart Schaefer is a great friend of mine. He's a phenomenal dude and a phenomenal welder. What do you think about Boilermakers? I've worked around Boilermakers a lot in my career. They're they're some of the hardest working people out there, quite honestly. Some of the work that they do, crawling down inside those tanks and putting new tank bottoms on them and repairing vessels. The Boilermakers really got big. If you drive across America and you look, just about every town in America has got a big old water tank, and that water sits up at a high elevation and feeds water to that town. Well, who do you think built all those tanks? That was Boilermakers. And sometimes they call them tankies. But skilled craftsmen, lots and lots of good man hours, good work, a lot of welding involved with Boilermaking. They also do tube leak repairs. We train for that here at Western Welding Academy. Tube leak repairs inside of a boiler. If you can imagine, these steam tubes encompass that firebox, whether they're burning coal or natural gas, and the heat always on one side of that tube, because they put water in those tubes, and that water boils and flashes to steam and feeds steam to the steam drum, and then that steam, they pipe it down and run it through a Hersig or a turbine. It spins that turbine, which spins a big shaft, which spins a generator, and that produces electricity. Everybody kind of takes electricity for granted, but they don't realize what goes into it and the amount of man hours and the amount of welding that goes into just flipping that light switch on and getting light, turning that coffee pot on, getting some coffee. But when these tubes wear out, they got to replace these big tube sections, and a lot of those tubes are in really tight areas, and it takes a good welder to be able to crawl in there and make a 100% X-ray weld that's got to be perfect. They're highly skilled individuals. Boilermakers are definitely highly skilled. Love that flag behind you. Yeah, that's Wyoming right there. That's one of the things that we're famous for, is Wyoming. We're here in Gillette, Wyoming, and greatest state in America. And I mean, we've got some other states like South Dakota and Florida and Texas. We like those people too, but there's without a doubt Wyoming is the best state in the union. There's no doubt. It's a low populated state. We've got some rolling hills, beautiful country here, and we've got Yellowstone Park and Jackson Hole, and Wyoming is the best state. It's my home. All right, any other questions? Drop them in the chat. We'll get them answered. About to cut you guys off. I got another few things that I got to do today. So if you got questions, drop them in the chat and we'll get them answered. And if this helps you, maybe we'll do some Rate My Weld on this live stream on Fridays. We're going to try to do a live stream every Friday. And if you guys got anything else you want to talk about, send us your welds. We do that Rate My Weld every week. Send us your welds on Instagram, Western Welding Academy. DM them to us, and we'll take a look at them. We'll tell you what we think. With that, that's a wrap. We'll close it out with that. We'll see you guys next time.